In tonight's news edition, His Majesty begins a visit to Tokyo with a meeting with the Jordanian-Japanese Parliamentary Friendship Committee. The top U.S. commander in Iraq says Iraqi forces are steadily advancing on multiple axes towards Mosul. And children are among at least 26 people killed in an airstrike on a village in Syria's Idlib province. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King began an official visit to Japan. King Abdullah met in Tokyo with chairmen and members of the Jordanian-Japanese Parliamentary Friendship Committee. He stressed the importance of boosting cooperation between judicial institutions in the two countries and the exchange of expertise to serve relations which extend to 62 years. The King mentioned Jordan's parliamentary elections, which were held last September and had won international acclaim. His Majesty briefed the committee on the pressures placed on Jordan due to the Syrian refugee crisis. He praised Tokyo's support to the kingdom in various fields that enable it to address challenges posed by regional crises. King Abdullah also reviewed Jordan's stance on regional and international crises, as well as the kingdom's efforts with influential powers, including Japan, to find political solutions to regional conflicts. He also stressed the importance of regional and international efforts to counter terrorism and terrorist gangs within a holistic strategy to preserve world peace and stability. Head of the Jordanian-Japanese Parliamentary Friendship Committee, Kuzunari Tanaka, praised the King's efforts to bring about peace and stability in the Middle East. Tanaka also noted Jordan's humanitarian role toward the Syrian refugees and urged the international community to provide financial and technical support to the kingdom. King Abdullah also met with President of the Jordanian-Japanese Friendship Society, Mikio Sasaki, and discussed the society's efforts to enhance economic and cultural cooperation between the two countries. The talks dealt with Jordanian-Japanese ties, and the King appreciated Japan for its aid and technical assistance to bolster Jordan's development programs. Earlier here in Amman, His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin Hussein was sworn in as regent in the presence of cabinet members. The cabinet endorsed an executive work plan of His Majesty King Abdullah's sixth discussion paper, Rule of Law and Civil State. The Ministry of Public Sector Development will oversee the drafting of the strategy in cooperation with the relevant government bodies. All the ministries and public entities will also present their vision and propose solutions. In a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki, the Council of Ministers urged all stakeholders to enforce rule of law with equality, justice and transparency to complement the government's approach. The Executive Action Plan was classified into 4 working areas to translate into decisions and policies to enhance the civil service system. Top U.S. commander in Iraq, Army Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend, said Iraqi forces are steadily advancing on multiple axes towards Mosul. The Iraqi army said it regained control of 2 more villages south of Mosul. Major General Najm al-Jibouri, the commander of the Mosul operations, said his troops took control of the villages after a gunfire battle with snipers positioned on a ridge near the villages. But Daesh kept up their fierce defense of the southern approaches to Mosul, which has held up Iraqi troops on the southern front. 10 days into the offensive, Iraqi army and police units are trying to dislodge the terrorists from villages in the region of Shora, 30 kilometers south of Iraq's second largest city. The front lines in other areas have moved much closer to the edges of Mosul, the last major city under Daesh's control in Iraq. Elsewhere, the Iraqi army said it had regained full control of the western town of Rutba 3 days after Daesh attacked it. Daesh raided Rutba on Sunday in an apparent effort to divert Iraqi government troops from the ongoing assault on Mosul. The group at one point controlled half of the town on a key route to Syria and Jordan in Anbar province. Airstrikes killed at least 22 people in a village in Syria's rebel-held Idlib province, 7 of which were children. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights Monitoring Group said warplanes struck several locations in Has village, including an elementary and middle school, killing at least one teacher as well as the children. A report on Syrian state television quoted a military source as saying a number of militants had been killed when their positions were targeted in Has. Meanwhile, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said Turkey's military operations in Syria aim to secure control of the towns of Al-Bab and Manbij, but are not intended to stretch to the city of Aleppo. His comments followed a military incident where forces allied to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad warned Turkey against any advance towards their positions to the north and east of Aleppo. The Syrian government said any such advance by Turkey would be met decisively and with force. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said a planned operation to retake the Syrian city of Raqqa from Daesh should be carried out by local forces, and the Kurdish YPG militia should not be included. Retaking the Syrian city of Raqqa from Daesh was expected to dominate talks between U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter and his French and Turkish counterparts. The talks on the sidelines of a meeting of NATO defense officials in Brussels comes a day after the United States made its strongest indication yet that the battle to retake Raqqa could be fast approaching. Carter said the battle for Raqqa would overlap with the unfolding assault in Iraq to seize Mosul. Carter has not disclosed the timing of the Raqqa campaign, but said preparations were underway. His French counterpart, Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, also said preparations were on schedule. The Russian embassy in Spain confirmed that Moscow had withdrawn a request for a group of warships to refuel in the Spanish port of Ceuta. The battle group was expected to take part in Russia's military operation in Syria. Madrid was under pressure from NATO allies to refuse to refuel it over concerns of the potential use of the carrier group to increase attacks against civilians in Aleppo. The battle group had passed through the English Channel on Friday and made its way to the Mediterranean. It is made up of Russia's only aircraft carrier, Admiral Kuznetsov, as well as nuclear battle cruiser, anti-submarine warships, and support vessels likely escorted by submarines. Spanish media reported the battle group was headed to Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta to refuel. The naval deployment is carrying fighter bombers and helicopters and was expected to join around 10 other Russian vessels already off the Syrian coast. Israel recalled its UNESCO ambassador for consultations after the UN Cultural Organization adopted a resolution on Jerusalem. Israeli leaders claimed the resolution ignored Judaism's connection with the holy city of Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his government will decide the next step towards UNESCO. UNESCO, the UN scientific and cultural organization, frequently condemns Israel and is regarded by its leaders as hostile. According to a text provided by Palestinian officials, the resolution adopted today in Paris by UNESCO's World Heritage Committee refers to Jerusalem's Haram Sharif noble sanctuary as a Muslim holy site of worship. Palestinian official Saab Ariqat said the aim of the UNESCO resolution was to protect the religious rights of all three monotheistic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, at Jerusalem's holy sites. French authorities have cleared the Calais camp, a squalid shanty town built outside the port of Calais by thousands of migrants desperately seeking a passage to Britain. French officials expect to disperse the last of its inhabitants around the country within hours. The operation mostly passed off peacefully, although some tents and shelters were torched in a last gesture of defiance as the refugees saw their hopes of a new life in Britain vanish. Here's more.
This used to be the shopping street of the migrant camp known as the Jungle in Calais, France. Migrants who've been living in the sprawling and unsanitary port of entry to Britain are being moved as officials close the camp. But before leaving, it's tradition for migrants to burn their tents and shelters, despite being told not to. A regional prefect official said fire services and paramedics are on the scene, so the risk of the fire spreading is low. But they've told us it's a very established tradition. When you go, you burn. Migrants fleeing poverty and war outside Europe have, over the past few years, congregated at Calais in the hope of finding new lives across the short stretch of sea. And they're still coming. Over 4,000 people have been registered by the French authorities since Monday, with the majority bused to reception centers across France.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump took time out of the campaign trail. He formally opened a new hotel in what a top aide said would remind voters of his business accomplishments less than 2 weeks before the elections. Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway, in several television interviews, said the event in Washington would not distract from the campaign's efforts to rally voters before the November 8 election. Trump is trailing his Democratic rival Hillary Clinton in national opinion polls. Paul Batty was named as the first American to win the prestigious Man Booker Fiction Prize for The Sellout, a biting satire on race relations in the United States. Chair of the 5 judges of the $61,000 prize, Amanda Foreman, said The Sellout had been a unanimous choice. Presenting the award at a ceremony at London's historic Guildhall, Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, commended the work of the judges, who shifted through a kaleidoscope of titles to bring the outstanding writers to the public's attention.
The chairman of the judges has an especially difficult task. I hesitate to speculate what talents are needed to nurture harmony and encourage debate. Indeed, I hesitate to comment at all on an author whose first book was a review study of the Duchess.
Ricardas Barinkas of Lithuania upset the number 2 seed Milas Raonic in the first round of the Swiss indoor in Basel. The 26-year-old qualifier, who is ranked 91 in the world, came back from a set-down to defeat the Canadian 3-6, 6-3, 6-3. Barinkas will now face Federico Dolbones of Argentina in the second round. Audi will quit participation in the Le Mans sports car race and the related World Endurance Championship next year after almost 2 decades and shift resources to electric car racing. Volkswagen-owned Audi, grappled with cost of its emissions scandal, is cutting spending to fund a strategic shift to electric cars and autonomous driving, mirroring plans by parent Volkswagen. Audi denied a report saying savings from pulling out of the Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship would amount to an annual $328 million. And finally, chilly weather prevails in most regions for the rest of tonight, while it will be fair in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea with moderate winds. Tomorrow, fall conditions affect most regions. Therefore, it will be cool in the morning and relatively hot during the day. Winds will be southeasterly moderate to brisk. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect relatively hot conditions tomorrow, with northerly moderate to brisk winds and choppy seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. His Majesty begins a visit to Tokyo with a meeting with the Jordanian-Japanese Parliamentary Friendship Committee. The top U.S. commander in Iraq says Iraqi forces are steadily advancing on multiple axes towards Mosul. And children are among at least 26 people killed in an airstrike on a village in Syria's Idlib province. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Nancy Khair. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.